Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. Yeah, I was kind of MIA for a little bit because my mom and my aunt came to visit me after the baby was born, and I had kind of like a nice little staycation. So, just went around La Pedronta and went to a bunch of restaurants, which I might make a video about my favorite restaurants in La Pedronta because I have pretty strong feelings about that. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this video. I'm actually going to talk about this CRBA application thing, which is Consular Report of Birth Abroad for Americans. So that's going to be interesting. I will also mention briefly for my Finnish side that the actual bill came in the mail for the birth and it is $267. So I think I had to pay a what do they call it, like a clinic fee of 66 euros, which is pretty standard. I paid that originally when I started going for my like pregnancy visits, and yeah, so this one, it seems like it was per night, it was 66 euros, and there were 4 nights that I was there, because I was there Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Crazy. I spent like five days, 4 nights in the hospital. At least they had air conditioning. And finally it's starting to cool off here, and it's great, and I'm probably gonna make myself go for a walk, and I'm feeling good now. It's not like, you know, difficult to move around, so I'm feeling pretty lucky. But anyway, this video is going to be about Consular Report of Birth Abroad, because honestly, I'm starting with this process. It's a little bit more complicated than I thought, so hopefully this will help at least one person. As I always say, even though I know the demographic of my channel tends not to really be Americans, but whatever, either way, hopefully somebody who needs this video will find it. And this is more so just documenting my experience, and it may be interesting to people who don't understand how this works. So, okay, iced coffee break time, which I've been drinking all summer because it's just too hot for regular coffee. Okay, so I had the baby here, yes. Other things related to that. A lot of people think that, okay, you give birth in a certain country, that means that the child automatically gets birthright citizenship. No, that's an American thing. In fact, most of Europe does not do that. That's pretty easily Googleable. But it's interesting how much of a, you know, like misconstrued kind of thought process that is, not only among Americans where we have the birthright citizenship, but also among Finnish people. So it's interesting. Now, the baby would technically be Finnish if the dad were Finnish, which is not the case. So, yeah, that creates a situation where the baby's not Finnish, essentially. Anyway, that's a whole separate discussion. One thing that makes it easier, because I am like the sole person in charge of the child, is I don't have to go do the paperwork for the father, which is great. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with my application, because there are actually a lot of different components. So like if the mom is a U.S. citizen, if the dad is a U.S. citizen, if the mom is unwed, if the dad is unwed, and there are like different parameters that they need for this CRBA CRBA thing. And for me, I'm an unwed mother, so I fall into that category. Okay, so other things that are happening with this. So as soon as my baby was born, like 2 days later, I already submitted my CRBA application. Now, at least talking about it in Finland, one of the issues is that they say on the application that you can just bring all of the documents into the embassy, but in reality, that's like not how that works, and they actually want to see all the documents ahead of time to pre-approve them before you come in for the appointment. The other thing is you cannot schedule an appointment ahead of time. They kind of have to like work with you to schedule the appointment, which they don't want to schedule the appointment until they see that all of your papers, or, you know, paper ducks, so to speak, are in a row. So I also, like, I got her name approved actually like within 5 days of her being born, which was great. Shout out to the DVV for doing that here in Finland. So that made it easier, because then I'm like, this is her name, this is like legally her name in Finland, this is definitely her name. Okay, great. But then I also needed to order a birth certificate. Now, I was not sure which birth certificate to order, and I'll be honest with you, I'm still not sure which birth certificate to order. So when in doubt, I went with the most expensive option, which was the apostilled one, and that just came in the mail today. So I'm going to have to submit that. Now, in addition to needing that, you also need a hospital birth record, which you also need to order from the DVV. So the birth certificate they used to give out in the hospital, but now everything's electronic. Fun fact, same as the diplomas now in Finland. They don't give you a diploma at your graduation anymore. Luckily, I still got a diploma when I got my master's. I don't know how it's going to work when I get my PhD. Whatever, it's a later problem. Okay, so the birth certificate is now in my possession. The hospital birth record I ordered a couple of days after because they then notified me that they needed that via email. So now that will hopefully come in a couple of days, and then I should hopefully have everything all together. So you need your parent or parents, plural, passport or passports. I obviously just provided mine. Marriage certificate, not married, easy. Proof of physical presence in the U.S. This was a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Here I am being like, I've lived in the U.S. most of my life, and I'm almost 30 years old, so therefore, this is obvious. But no, and the funny part is they don't even care about tax returns. And I watched a YouTube video on this that explained that has to do with the fact that just because you have tax return does not mean you were necessarily in the U.S. while you were working. And I was like, true, but still. And also, as we know, Americans have to pay taxes on their income regardless of where they are. So there's that whole thing. But what I ended up doing, because sometimes they want to see like your school records and stuff, I was like this perennial student, and I started studying in 2013 with my associate's degree at a community college, and then I went to a 4-year university, and I was also like abroad, during that time period, which I kind of documented in there too, but I didn't know how much of that they really needed to see. But I just thought providing school records for the last 10 years would be fine because they only really need to see 5 years of you being in the U.S. I did send some tax returns. Again, those seem to not really be as important. But the other things I sent were my transcripts from my community college and from my bachelor's degree, because my bachelor's degree was quite extensive. I was, at the same university between 2015 and 2021, give or take some, NASA intern rotations and some study abroad time for when I was learning Russian. So those things. Yeah, and I just kind of explained, like, I was interning and I was in Houston from these times. I was in these countries learning Russian from these times. And then I also explained how much I've been in and out of Finland in the last 4 years because I recently had to provide that information also to the Finnish government. So I just copied and pasted that and put that in there. I don't know how much they care about that because I think they just want to see that. Well, the point is the kid needs a citizenship. The baby. My family members were not liking that I kept calling her a kid. They're like, she's a baby. I'm like, okay, the small baby human, whatever, small child. So yes, like she's gonna need a citizenship, and it's really interesting the way that the birth certificate shows up because it says citizenship, and it's like basically she doesn't have a citizenship yet. She's like in no man's land of citizenship. Interesting. Okay, and so then I qualify as an out of wedlock to a U.S. citizen mother. That's what my child has. So that means that I need to be a U.S. citizen at the time of the child's birth. Obviously, I am, and physically present in the U.S. states or its territories for a period of 5 years, and at least 2 of these years must be after the age of 14. Well, as I said, I was studying for like 10 years, which was well after the age of 14 because I started at like 17, so this should not be a problem. So that's kind of everything that they want to know. And so, like I said, I provided transcripts. I did provide tax documents. And it also says that they want to see old passports with entry and exit stamps. They literally just had my passport because I just renewed it. So I'm like, do I bring that passport back? Like, I don't know. So I did say that. Oh, another one that I saw somewhere was if you have like doctor's records of being in the U.S. because during my pregnancy, I was partially receiving care in the U.S., so I have a bunch of medical records from that, which I actually got released and brought those with me, and it cost me like $12 to release them, but anyway, not important. But the point is I have them with me, so I'll probably bring that to the appointment too, because it's like 50 pages. I don't feel like, uploading that. It's a bunch of nonsense. But anyway, these were all the things that I sent in because I was really trying to cover all my bases. Like, if I look at the attachment on here, it's my passport, it's my community college transcript, it's my other transcript that I sent some tax forms, and then I said, I can bring my old passports and some medical records. But you know, because before when I submitted the application, I provided one tax return for like 2022 or something. And yeah, that was like I had a summer internship. So yeah, like, okay. And then, you know, that was not enough. So it's kind of like weird because I mean, as I said, the baby needs to have a citizenship, but the bigger issue right now is, you know, I'm planning to travel with the baby soon because that's the whole point of me being migratory Michaela. No, but seriously, it's to go see family while the baby's still pretty small and cute and stuff. Yeah, we had a great time with my family being here, but that's the topic of another video. Yes, so anyway, this is where I'm at right now. I'm trying really hard to get them to like respond to me and schedule an appointment with me. I've already been harassing them since 2 days after the baby was born, which was the 26th of July. So we're already like, you know, more than 2 weeks out, slightly. And, you know, passports can take up to 8 weeks to come in. So like, I'm hoping they expedite it, and I think they will. My passport, I got it renewed by mail. It only took 4 weeks, so I'm really trying to, like, schedule something by the end of the month because I actually already have to go to the embassy for other documentation purposes at the end of the month, so hopefully it's all going to work out that way. The other issue is I still have to apply for the residence permit for my child, and maybe I can talk about that more later. But anyway, that was everything that I want to talk about with this CRBA application. It seems very like random, so I will keep it on my OG channel. Maybe for talking about the residence permit, that can be on my Michaela in Finland channel. You know, I'm trying to be organized here, but that's not actually how my brain works, so there is that. Okay, well, again, hopefully this was helpful or at the very least interesting, but probably not. So whatever, but it is what it is. I'm trying to record some videos while the baby's sleeping, and I'm not currently entertaining guests or doing laundry or cleaning my floor, which secretly I should be doing, or other stuff on the computer related to all this paperwork stuff, which is why I've disappeared a lot recently. But anyway, that's where we're at now. Okay, so until next time, thanks for your support. Bye.